1. Coil, colon, a coil of rope. Quote: a Flemish flake is a spiral coil of one layer only. It is made on deck, so that it may be walked on if necessary. The Ashley Book of Knots. Here is an account of a few years in the life of Proulx, born in Brooklyn and raised in a shuffle of dreary upstate towns. High-spangled, gut roaring with gas and cramp, he survived childhood. At the State University, hand clapped over his chin, he camouflaged torment with smiles and silence, stumbled through his 20s and into his 30s, learning to separate his feelings from his life, counting on nothing. He ate prodigiously, liked ham, knuckle, buttered spots. His jobs, distributor of vending machine candy, all-night clerk in a convenience store, a third-rate newspaper man. At 36, bereft, brimming with grief and thwarted love, Proulx steered away to Newfoundland, the rock that had generated his ancestors, a place he had never been nor thought to go. A water place, and Proulx ferried water, could not swim. Again and again the father had broken his clenched grip and thrown him into pools. Brooks, lakes, and surf. Proulx knew the flavor of brack and waterweed. From this youngest son's failure to dog paddle, the father saw other failures multiply like an explosion of virulent cells. Failure to speak clearly, failure to sit up straight, failure to get up in the morning, failure in attitude, failure in ambition and ability, indeed, in everything. His own failure. Proulx shambled, a head taller than any child around him was soft. He knew it. "Ah, you lout," said the father, but no pygmy himself. And brother Dick, the father's favorite, pretended to throw up when Proulx came into the room, hissed, "Lard us a snot-faced, ugly pig, warthog, stupid, stink bomb, fart tub, greasebag," pummeled and kicked until Proulx curled, hands overhead, sniveling on the linoleum. All stemmed from Proulx's chief failure, the failure of normal appearance. A great damp loaf of body. At 6 he weighed 80 pounds. At 16, he was buried under casement of flesh, head shaped like a crenshaw, no neck, reddish hair, racked back, features as bunched as kissed fingertips, eyes the color of plastic, the monstrous chin, freakish shelf jutting from the lower face. Some anomalous gain had fired up at the moment of his begetting, as a single spark sometimes leaps from banked coals, had given him a giant's chin. As a child, he invented straight gams to deflect stares. A smile, downcast gaze, the right hand darting up to cover the chin. His earliest sense of self was as distant figure. There in the foreground was his family. Here, at the limit of the far view, was he. Until he was 14, he cherished the idea that he had been given to the wrong family, that somewhere his real people settled with the changeling of the Proulx longed for him. Then for a ging in a box of excursion mementos, he found photographs of his father beside the brothers and sisters at a ship's rail. The girl, somewhat apart from the others, looked toward the sea, eyes squinted, as though she could see the port of destination 1,000 miles suit. Proulx recognized himself in their hair, their legs and arms, that sly-looking lump in the shrunken sweater, hand at his crotch, his father. On the back, scribbled in blue pencil, "Leaving home, 1946. At the university he took courses he couldn't understand, humped back and forth without speaking to anyone, went home for weekends of excoriation. At last he dropped out of school and looked for a job, kept his hand over his chin. Nothing was clear to lonesome Proulx. His thoughts churned like the amorphous thing that ancient sailors drifting into Arctic half-light called the sea long. A heaving sludge of ice under fog, where air blurred into water, where liquid was a solid, where solids dissolved, where the sky froze and light and dark muddled. He fell into newspapering by dawdling over greasy saucings and a piece of bread. The bread was good, made without yeast, risen on its own fermenting flesh and baked in Partridge's outdoor oven. Partridge's yard smelled of burnt cornmeal grass clippings, bread steam. The sow season, the bread, the wine, partridge stalk. For these things he missed a chance at a job that might have put his amount to bureaucracy without breast. His father self-hauled to the pinnacle of produce. Manager for a supermarket chain, preached a sermon illustrated with his own history. I had to wheel barrows of sand for the stone mason when I came here, and so forth. The father admired the mysteries of business, men signing papers shielded by their left arms, meetings behind opaque glass, locked briefcases. But Partridge, dribbling oil, said, "Ah, fuck it. Sliced purple tomato, changed the talk to descriptions of places he had been, Strabane, suit Amboy Clark Fork. In Clark Fork had played pool with a man with a divided septum, wearing kangaroo gloves, Chiole in the Adirondack. Claire listened, covered his hand with his chin. There was olive oil on his interview suit, a tomato seed on his diamond pattern tie. Chiole and Partridge met at a laundromat in Mockingbird, New York. Chiole was humped over the newspaper, circling help-wanted ads while his big man shirts revolved. Partridge remarked that the job market was tight. Yes, said Chiole, it was. Partridge floated an opinion on the drought. Chiole nodded. Partridge moved the conversation to the closing of the sauerkraut factory. Chiole fumbled his shirts from the dryer. They fell on the floor in a rain of hot coins and ballpoint pens. The shirts were streaked with link. Ruined, said Chiole. No, said Partridge. Rub the ink with hot salt and talcum powder. Then wash them again, put a cup of bleach in. Chiole said the wood tried. His voice wavered. Partridge was astonished to see the heavy man's colorless eyes enlarged with tears. For Chiole was a failure at loneliness, yearned to be gregarious, to know his company was a pleasure to others. The dryers groaned. Hey, come by some night, said Partridge, writing his slanting address and phone number on the back of creased cash register receipt. He didn't have that many friends either. The next evening, Chiole was there, gripping paper bags. The front of Partridge's house, the empty street drenched in amber light. A gilded hour. In the bags, a packet of imported Swedish crackers, bottles of red, pink and white wine, foil-wrapped triangles of foreign cheeses. Some kind of hot, juggling music on the other side of Partridge door that thrilled Keuler.